And let's be real about this. It's insane that we haven't raised the retirement age in the United States. It's totally crazy.
Oh, yeah, that's nuts, man. You know, this idea that people should be able to enjoy the later years of their life without having to fucking work, that's absurd. Grandma, you want to stay home and bake cookies? And you want to bake an apple pie for your grandkids? Fuck that. Get in the fucking factory, bitch. If we were a reasonable and rational country, we would have taken this dude and said, all right, for your stupidity, you will now work the rest of your life in the mines. We would have tossed him in the fucking mines, and we would have fucking given him a pickaxe and said, your job is to hammer rocks into smaller rocks from now until the day you die. That would be the punishment for being Ben Shapiro, okay? But instead, we've decided to somehow hold this guy up as some sort of like vaunted intellectual on the right.
If that were the case, Joe Biden should not be running for president. Hey, Joe Biden is 81 years old. The retirement age in the United States at which you start to receive Social Security and you are eligible for Medicare is 65.
I'm fine with that. Yeah, I don't think Joe Biden should run for president. I think Joe Biden is way too fucking old to be president. You know, I don't know that I necessarily support a fucking age restriction on the office. But I would say that America really just needs to get its shit together on this and realize that unless we're talking about some sort of super exceptional 81-year-old man, like we're just talking about a man who's like shows no signs of mental atrophy, who is completely in command of his faculties, who seems, you know, lucid and self-assured and completely mentally acute, then maybe we could consider electing someone the age of Joe Biden. Joe Biden is none of those things. Joe Biden is a dolt. He is a simpering nitwit. You know, the best performance we've seen of him has been at that recent State of the Union address, and even that was a disaster. It was a shit show. You know, it was obvious that they fucking pumped him full of Adderall or cocaine or something, throwing his ass out there. He yells half the State of the Union. He still fumbled constantly. He still said, Roe v. Wade. He still fucking... He had a little more pep in his step. He was a little more fiery. He was a little bit more lucid than usual, but he was still kind of a fucking show, you guys. Like, we all went into there with our expectations down here, and when he got to here, we were like, ooh, yeah, nice. Good job, Biden. Like, when really a president should be like up here. But we forgot that the president is supposed to be exceptional and is supposed to be an intelligent person. And so now we're willing to accept this as good because we're used to this. You know, the thing about a retirement age, too, that Ben Shapiro is not factoring into this whole little equation he's got going on here, is that 65, I don't think 65 should be like the mandated retirement age. I don't think like, hey, you're 65, get the fuck out of the workforce. Some people like working. Some people like to work into their older years. And if they want to do that, if it's a person who just, they get like work gives their life meaning or whatever, they want to work, they need to work, they don't have any sort of recreational activity that they're much interested in, they'd rather just work, then by all means, put their ass to work. That's my attitude. Unless it's like some super important thing and they're showing like signs of serious mental decline, then yeah. I think that if mental fitness is gone, you should be kicked out of the fucking job. But if you are still capable of doing your job to a fucking reasonable degree of competency and you want to keep working after the age of 65, then by all means, I think you should be allowed to do that. But I think everyone in this country should have the option to retire at 65. Now, unfortunately, due to economic factors, a lot of people cannot retire at 65. There's plenty of people out there that would love to retire at 65. Think it would be great if they could retire at 65, but they just flatly can't because they just don't have enough money to do it. They have to keep working. And that, to me, is a disgusting state of affairs. And to hear this fucking never worked a real day in his life, pampered, fucking soft-handed motherfucker out there saying that we need to raise the retirement age. Raise, you know, while his ass sits there pampered, soft, and content, and all he has to do for a living is just yell a bunch of grifty bullshit morons and try to make the fucking positions of people with fucking IQs of 65 sound like they're reasonably intelligent. Like, that's his job, to take the beliefs of idiots and try to make them sound as though they're anywhere near intellectually sound. That's his entire fucking profession. For him to say that, like, the janitor or the cook or the waitress or the store clerk or whatever has to keep working until they die because his ass just feels like, well, it's just unreasonable to think that anyone should ever be able to fucking have any sort of happiness in their lives. They should just have to work from cradle to fucking grave. For him to say that in particular makes me think he needs to fucking go into the mines. It makes me think that his new fucking purpose in life needs to be, let's harden his soft ass up, slap a pickaxe in his hand, tell him your job is to fucking turn those big boulders into littler boulders, and then turn those littler boulders into fucking rocks, and turn those rocks into pebbles, and turn those pebbles into dust. And then when you're done with that, we got some more boulders for you, motherfucker. That should be his lot in life. If that's what he believes, then I want to see him practice what he fucking preaches. I want to see his ass breaking rocks for a fucking living.
Joe Biden has technically been eligible for Social Security and Medicare.
And by the way, I say this as a fellow soft motherfucker that only has to bloviate for a living, okay? I don't make the kind of money Ben Shapiro does. I don't make anywhere near the kind of money Ben Shapiro does. I'm sure that if Ben Shapiro was demoted to my level of income, he'd probably slit his fucking wrists. But that being said, I live comfortably doing what I'm doing right now. I live comfortably doing what I'm doing right now, and I can tell you it is not a hard job. It is not a hard life. It is not tough. It is not back-breaking. It is not soul-breaking. It is not soul-draining. It is not hard work. It's a fucking joke compared to what a lot of Americans do every single day for way the fuck less money. So this piece of shit right here on my screen right now, not this one, not this piece of shit, that fucking piece of shit right there, that fucking scumbag, his ass needs a taste. And in fact, I think he needs to go to the fucking buffet of real work. I think this guy should have to fucking do a real soul-crushing, body-breaking fucking job from now until the day he's dead. Hey, if you like this clip, you might like the full stream, which I do every Sunday, more or less, over on the Pessimist Productions Patreon, link down below. Thank you kindly.
For 16 years, and he wants to continue in office until he is 86, which is 19 years past when he would be eligible for retirement.
Yeah, but, your guy is, like, practically the same age, dude. I mean, I'm not defending Joe Biden's cognitive abilities. I think Joe Biden has lost more than a step. I think Joe Biden has lost a marathon worth of steps, okay? I think Donald Trump is if he hasn't lost a marathon himself, he's working on it. So both of these guys are not just old, but I think they're both dementia-addled, and I think they're both unfit for office.
No one in the United States should be retiring at 65 years old. Frankly, I think retirement itself is a stupid idea unless you have some sort of health problem. Everybody that I know who is elderly, who has retired, is dead within 5 years.
Well, I don't know. Do you think that maybe the fact that they were dead within a few years after retirement, do you think that might have to do with the fact that they retired in their 60s? And like, they were elderly. Of course they're fucking dead within a few years. What is the idea that work is keeping people alive? I mean, look, so there is something to that, I guess. Because for a lot of people, they need a purpose in life. And because we as Americans are trained to think that our purpose is our job, we identify as our job, we are trained to think that our job is who we are. Like, one of the first questions people ask each other when they're getting to know each other is, so what do you do? What do you do for a living? And like, so we're kind of trained to view that as our purpose in life. And then for a lot of people, once that purpose is gone, it's like they just kind of meander, like they don't know what to do with themselves because they don't know how to actually go and seek pleasure. They don't know how to actually have any fun. And so, yeah, they die for that reason. That's not because work is this great fulfilling thing. It's because we've been conditioned to feel like it's our purpose, and it's not.
And if you talk,
or it shouldn't be.
Talk to people who are elderly and they lose their purpose in life by losing their job and they stop working, things go to hell in a handbasket real quick. But put all of that aside. just on a fiscal level and on a logical level. When Franklin Delano Roosevelt established 65 as the retirement age, the average life expectancy in the United States was 63 years old. Today, the average life expectancy in the United States is close to 80. It's totally insane that you believe that you should be able to work from the time that you are essentially 20 to the time that you are 65, which is a 45-year period, pay in, and then you will receive Social Security benefits sufficient to support you and your family, you and your wife or whatever, for like another 20 years. That's crazy.
Wait. So wait, you're expecting everyone to live to be 85? Yeah, the life expectancy in America is 77. And I'm pretty sure if we isolate that by group, life expectancy for white men is 76. Life expectancy for black men is probably lower, 69. Yeah. So, I mean, like, it gets even smaller when you start, like, chopping it up. So, I don't know. I mean, I don't think we need to have different retirement ages for different groups of people. I honestly think 65 is a pretty reasonable retirement age. I don't care that people are going to get to, like, live off of the money they paid in for the last 10 years of their lives or whatever. Like, I think that's fine. I don't think there's a problem with that, especially when our country is willing to spend money on a lot of stupid shit.
That is not fiscally sustainable.
Well, then let's make it fiscally sustainable by stopping spending on a bunch of worthless garbage like our bloated military budget and like a bunch of other garbage that doesn't pay any dividends.
The notion that if you have to raise the retirement age to 67 or 68, that everyone is going to fall apart. My parents are that age. My parents are not retired.
Your parents are rich. Your parents don't need to rely on Social Security checks. Your parents are fucking rich. You were born rich. You will die rich. You were born soft. You will die soft. You will never have to lift a finger in your entire fucking life other than this one as you cash your big, fat, grifty fucking paychecks, okay? So you're not the typical example. You don't get to tell us about your mom and dad. They didn't retire. They're still working. It's because they have great jobs that give them so much pleasure. Most people don't have that. Most people have shitty jobs. Most people have miserable, soul-draining, body-breaking, grinding, garbage fucking jobs, okay? And they shouldn't have to do that forever. In fact, you know, I mean, the second we can make it feasible for them to not have to do it at all, we probably should just relieve them of duty and let them take a load off. Let them have some creative pursuits.
And they shouldn't retire. It would be very bad for them to retire. By the way, it's disrespectful to people who are 67, 68, 69 years old to suggest that they are in the same shape as people who are 65 were in 1940. It's not
disrespectful, you fucking dipshit. I just told you that if someone wants to keep working, if like work gives them fucking purpose in life, they like it, go ahead. Have at it, my man. Go fucking, you know, knock yourself out. I don't give a shit.
65-year-olds are not old in the United States. They're not. 68-year-olds are not old in the United States. Again, Joe Biden.
So basically, you got to work until you're so old and infirm that you just can't anymore. Like that's the Ben Shapiro vision for America. Cradle to grave, work, work, work. Maybe when you're so old and so infirm that you can't fucking possibly do anything anymore other than just sit there and rot. Only then do you have an excuse to not be working. What a scumbag. What a piece of garbage. Especially knowing that this guy has never worked a day in his life other than to do this job here. Ben Shapiro's literal job is to take what some dumb redneck idiot says but can't defend. Like, man, I just think the transgenders is destroying the fabric of society. Ben Shapiro then has to cook up some sort of halfway reasonable, halfway cogent argument for that horse shit and deliver it in this voice. And he says it very fast so that people pay attention to it and glitzes it up with a few little statistics and arguments here and there, but most of them are taken miles out of context and make no sense if you actually examine them. But he talks fast And he's willing to put a little intellectual glean on the stupidest opinions in the world. And that's his entire fucking job. Every day he shows up and he does an hour or two of that. And then he gets to go back to his mansion and sit in his hammock and drink his fucking Mai Tai and get his fucking dick sucked by the fucking, gay black prostitute that he probably fucking has, And then he's going to tell you about, these lazy bums who want to retire at 65 before they're while they're still able to work. Only people on their deathbed, I guess, should be allowed to retire. So they just I'm surprised he even says that. I'm surprised he'll even let him retire to die. I'm surprised he doesn't just say, just go into work, keep working until you die. You can't get out of your bed, whatever. We'll fucking roll your bed into the Walgreens. Check some people out.
Thinks he's not old, and that dude is running for president again, and that dude actually is old, and he's 81. I failed to see how a country in which our entire leadership class is 80 plus is telling you that we should have a retirement age of 65. It makes no sense at all.
I at least agree with that. I think that the fact that our politicians skew into their 70s and 80s at this point, we've become a geezerocracy. And I think that's absurd, and I think we should fucking put a stop to it. Like I said, there may be some exceptions to the rule. There might be some politicians out there that have their wits about them enough to trust them with that power, but I think that by and large, a lot of these people need to go. A lot of these ancient mummies that, are holding on to power with their little grubby nubs of fingers. No, you can't have my power. I don't care that I'm 106. You can't take it away.